Mizkif's lawsuit is hilariously bad. Today we're breaking it down on the legal mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. Of course, I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney in America, and we're going to break this down for you today. It's good to be back. Thank you guys for being patient with me. I've been doing some traveling. I'm back in the States for a little bit, and I'm very excited to be coming back with this topic, something I predicted in my last review of the Mizkif versus Emeru kind of drama, which was drama then, but it's legal now. There's a lawsuit now, and this is something that is absolutely going to blow back on Mizkif, and we're going to get into that today. Of course, I've got a PowerPoint as we get into this Fast Facts version. If you like the Fast Facts, if you like this format, make sure to like the video, leave a comment, let me know you love the Fast Facts, and let me know you're glad that I'm back. So this is Mizkif versus effectively everyone. Now, I know not everyone on the internet is named in this, but all the big players are in this, and we're going to go over the parties first so you guys understand the background for this lawsuit and what's going on here today. So obviously, a couple disclaimers up front. This is something that I wanted to break down. First of all, this is a public court document. I know that there's an unredacted version. Anybody can go out there and find the unredacted version with all the names, everything else. I have chosen to take selections for the Fast Facts and to redact them. However, once again, all this stuff is now public. One thing about a lawsuit is it all becomes public. Everything becomes public, which is why things are going to be very, very interesting. One fun fact was I don't believe Mizkif is using his legal name or real name. I believe he's using a previous name because I've seen other lawsuits where he uses a different name. So regardless, if he's using a fake name, that's going to come out. The real name will come out, particularly in a response by the defendants, Emeru, Asmongold, OTK, Mythic. That's going to come out. One of the big thing is I am obviously represented by Mythic, but I do not represent or speak for Mythic. I'm not their lawyer. I'm not their representative. I don't speak for Asmongold, Emeru, anybody else, OTK. I'm speaking for myself. And one of the things that I do appreciate, and I want to give a little bit of thanks to Mythic on this, is I actually had this conversation with them before I ended up signing with them, saying, hey, look, if anything comes out involving a lawsuit, I'm going to cover it. Now, I'm going to do it as I always do, neutrally, based on the facts, based on the law, telling you the way it is or the way it isn't. And that's just the way it's going to be for me. And that's always how it's going to be for me. But they did not put any caps or restraints on what I said or how I speak, particularly as it involves the facts of the law. So I'm not representing anybody and just throwing it out there. The last thing is, I am going to make some bold statements here. I do say his lawsuit is hilariously bad, but court cases are always unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen. Even if there's a 99% chance that he loses, hey, there's a 1% chance out there. Judges can be crazy. Things can be crazy. Things can happen in unexpected ways. So just got to throw that out there so that everybody knows that, once again, I'm honest about how things shake up in court. So let's get into it. Who are the parties? Obviously, Mizkif here. Oh my gosh, this guy, what a clown. So he is claiming all sorts of damages here in terms of reputational harm, loss of business goodwill, loss of earnings, future earning potential, emotional distress, and mental anguish. Oh, mental anguish. Did those plushies hurt your soul, Mizkif? Did those plushies destroy you? I know you got the big Donkey Kong back there, but you're really baby Yoshi energy. Listen, Mizkif is going to destroy himself legally, financially, and reputationally in this, and I am going to be here to cover it all the entire way. So I'll say it once, and I'm going to say it again. Thank you, Mizkif, for the infinite content here. Obviously, we have Emeru, Emmy here. She obviously was key to the accusations involving, obviously, some emotional, physical, potentially sexual allegations against Mr. Mizkif, and that's going to be key to what's going on here. But backed up on that and in the lawsuit is the Roach King himself, Asmongold. He's in this in the defamatory context, claiming that his statements are defamatory. That's what Mizkif is going after. So he's pulled into this as well. And mind you, both Emmy and Asmongold would be key to the discovery here, and both of them would be deposed, which means they're going to get questioned, and all those things, including all those things Asmongold said he kind of doesn't want to talk about yet. Yeah, he's going to have to talk about those eventually when he's asked questions by his lawyers and by Mizkif's lawyers. So all those stories and all those things he says he has are going to come out. Now, he may not want to tell them right away, and I respect his decision. Obviously, he's a thoughtful guy, and he's thinking about this carefully. But all those things are going to come out as he is now a named defendant. Another named defendant, Mythic Talent, of course, once again, my talent agency, but once again, I'm not personally involved in this, but they're brought into this for contractual side as well as OTK as a corporate unit. Obviously, they all had some ownership stakes in this. They all had a share in this. So obviously, depriving Mizkif of his shares is one of the claims at stake here. So let's get into this lawsuit. So first, we have breach of contract. Now, this is the strongest possible claim. Now, why do I say strongest possible? Because we don't have the entire contract. Now, I can speculate on what that is based on, number one, my experience with these types of contracts, and number two, having written some types of contracts like this myself. As you guys may or may not know, I'm a corporate lawyer. I have reviewed a lot of corporate agreements. So I can very much imagine what's going on here. And the strongest argument that he does have, and this is me being honest and upfront, is that there might be some breach of contract until we see the contract. My argument here in my kind of thoughts for OTK in general would be release the contract. It's going to come out as part of discovery. It's going to come out as part of this process. So one thing I would want to see, and once again, they can release this privately, publicly, whatever, it's going to come out as part of the lawsuit, is to get this particular agreement. So what is he saying? He's saying that, hey, they ousted him from ownership without breach or default. And now what that is saying is he had no notice, he had no reason to know he was going to be kicked out of OTK. Well, by his own admission and by the filing of the letter, which they previously sent him, in fact, he was on notice. He already had a strike. They could have removed him for just that, but they decided not to. So this, to me, despite being his strongest possible claim, is fundamentally flawed by his own evidence, by the evidence that he's submitted himself. So saying that he's divested with no breach or notice is, in fact, countered by what he submitted, which we'll look at later. The next count is defamation. Now, this one is one you guys can obviously are familiar with. We've covered a lot of defamation cases on my channel. So he's saying that essentially the two main defendants, which are essentially Emaru and Asmongold, have defamed him with untrue statements, et cetera, and have published these to millions and millions of people. Now, the big problem with defamation is that you're going to need to prove it at the actual malice phase. And actual malice means that they actually had a high standard of malice against you, not just they said something that they were mistaken about, but they knew it was wrong and they had actual malice. That's going to be hard. The last one, count 3, is declaratory judgment against OTK, Mythic, and King, which essentially is saying, hey, look, these guys breached their agreements, breached their bonds that they had over the management fees. So these management fees were not owed, and these were unlawful. So that's a breach there to divest the plaintiff Mizkif of his interest in the company. So those are the three main claims there. So my analysis of those three claims is that the breach of contract is once again the strongest, but it's entirely based on the contract. The letter from OTK hurts Mizkif's case. That's going to absolutely damage him and damage his ability to go forward on this. Defamation is the most idiotic. Why is it the most idiotic? Because it opens up discovery. Discovery means every single email, Discord message, WhatsApp, text message, anything, Signal, whatever else is out there, all of that is going to come out against Mizkif. And not only that, but he's opened up all of his finances. So all of his money, everything else is going to be coming out for all the world and God to see, for everybody to say, hey, what's going on with Mizkif? What is wrong here? How much money did he actually lose? And did he lose that money because of these statements? Well, that's going to be really, really hard to prove, to show that, hey, because of these statements, I've lost revenue. How about you've been losing revenue because you've been, sucking lately, bro, right? You've been on a downtrend. You've been on a spiral. You've always been having trouble with views, having trouble with numbers. Everybody's numbers are down. So how are you hurt specifically, bro? And how are you going to prove that this is, once again, actual malice? This is something where they knew what they were saying was false and they said it maliciously. I think that is something he's just not going to get to. And beyond that, there's seems to be proof and seems to be enough evidence that a lot of what was said was the tip of the iceberg. In fact, there's much more that people don't know about Mizkif that's going to come out. So all those naughty stories from those parties that he went to, once again, parties that content creators should be well advised to be very, very careful at, because these things can come back and bite you. So all of that's going to come out. All of his bad shenanigans at parties, all of his behavior, all of his conduct, that's going to come out. So all of that is going to weigh against them actually actively lying in a malicious way. The last is declaratory judgment, which I think is based upon the contract. Once again, the OTK letter I think hurts Mizkif here, but if the contract is pretty clear with giving them ability to breach, which once again, common corporate language, common corporate contracts, any corporate lawyer would know this, like myself, anybody else, there are reputational clauses. If you hurt the reputation of a company, they can terminate you. That's been a thing forever. That's always been a thing. So the fact that he thinks he can get away with that, the fact he thinks that, hey, that reputation doesn't matter for a company, no, that's very, very standard. That's very, very ad forma or pro forma, sorry. It's something that every company is going to want to get rid of somebody if they're a problem or look like a problem, and that's a standard clause. Almost everybody, every employee out there in modern corporate America has some sort of reputational clause. So I think for the breach of contract and for the declaratory judgment, I think he's going to have a real uphill battle there. And let's look at the letter here. This is very interesting. So this is something that was also included. He submitted this. Mizkif submitted this, that he had a notice on or about November 6, 2023, that he, from OTK, there was a notice of termination and repurchase. So he was already on notice. So trying to say that he had no notice literally goes against the own evidence that he submitted. I don't understand how stupid you can be and how hilariously dumb you can be to say, hey, I had no notice except for this letter where they already put me on notice for multiple instances. Let's read the language here. Reference to your course of misconduct, including multiple instances of unwanted physical contact and violence. So he was on notice for unwanted physical contact and violence. This is before the quote unquote mounting of Emiru, which happened more recently. And this is once again, as of January 24, 2025. So they already had this updated notice, and he's already was put on notice. And once again, let's read these comments, because these comments in and of themselves, which he previously made, would have been more than enough to terminate him. F streamers, F them all, F everybody, F FaZe Clan, F the fourth floor, F OTK, F everybody. I'm going to start being a solo streamer. I've never needed anybody. They needed me. First of all, how desperate is that? How beta is that? How soy is that? You don't need me. You need me. No, sorry. Nobody needs your tough, I can't even handle a plushy self, bro. That is more than enough to say, if you're saying F your company, for them to terminate you. That's more than enough. And then going on beyond that, saying OTK failed miserably. Nobody wanted to buy it. It didn't make sense for anyone to ever purchase OTK or to run and operate OTK. So now OTK is very small. Put together, this alone would have been enough. So he's already defeated, I think, a lot of that argument for declaratory and for breach of contract just by his own evidence, which once again, how many brain cells do you have? And lawyers are willing to file a lot of things, even if there's lack of a real strong, reasonable basis. And based on the short form of this lawsuit, it's very short. There's not a long lawsuit. These clips that I've got you on this in this short, fast facts are actually the beef of what's going on here. This is not much, but all of it that we see kind of weighs against Mizkif, which to me, it just boggles the mind. So my conclusion here, and this is something I'll go into more detail on my live. You can get into my live and jump in on that as well. But I think this is going to destroy Mizkif legally, financially, and reputationally. In fact, if he wanted to have a good case, he would have a better case against Gucci Marks for his kind of representation of him in the deep fake, etc. That would have been a better case. But this case against Asmongold, Emiru, OTK, Mythic, it's not going to do well. But on Mythic and OTK's side, I think they should release the contract in full text. Release the contract, like the Kraken. Just release it. It's going to come out in Discovery anyway, so we might as well get that contract. We might as well see, hey, what's the legal basis here? Because I guarantee you there's going to be a reasonable basis to terminate him. But the last thing I want to conclude on here is thank you for the infinite content, Mizkif. This is the Christmas gift come early, the Thanksgiving gift, and I am absolutely grateful for you for that. But guys, I want to know what you think in the comments below, and I'll catch you on the next one.